Today on Let Them Talk, I'm answering a question from a viewer to this channel. Now, recently I posted a video, 101 really useful phrasal verbs, and if you haven't seen it yet, then you should definitely have a look at that. The link is somewhere up here. And in the comments of that video, I received a question from Kirill Mozgunov, and he said this: "Good morning, Gideon. Thanks a lot for another useful lesson. Everybody knows how important phrasal verbs are. Please make a video dedicated to how to learn phrasal verbs. Learning phrasal verbs is a great challenge. Share your experience with us. Tell us about the most efficient method to get it. Many thanks in advance." Good question, good question. Okay, so let's look at that today. So first of all, we need to define what a phrasal verb is. Okay, so a phrasal verb is a verb followed by one or more prepositions or an adverbial particle, but let's just call them prepositions here. And what's specific about phrasal verbs as opposed to an ordinary verb with a preposition is that in a phrasal verb, adding the preposition will completely change the meaning of the verb to that if it's used on its own. So let's look at an example of that. Listen to. Okay, so that's not a phrasal verb, it's a verb and preposition. So listen to still has the meaning of listening. Okay, so I listen to the radio, it's not a phrasal verb. Let's have a look at an example of a phrasal verb. Give, that's a normal verb, but if I add the preposition in, we have give in, which means to surrender or admit defeat. So for example, there's no way I can win this tennis game, so I give in. Now it would be difficult or impossible to understand give in from the verb give alone. Okay, so it's a phrasal verb. So you have to learn give in as a separate word to give. Sometimes you get a verb and a preposition which can have more than one meaning. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Look down is not a phrasal verb when I'm looking to something below me. Look down, okay? But when I say he looked down on people who didn't have his level of education, it's quite a different meaning. It means to consider someone inferior. Okay, so a phrasal verb has a completely different meaning to the verb on its own. So you need to be very careful about that when you are reading and listening, because you can completely misunderstand the meaning. So if you read the king looked down on his subjects, well, actually it could mean literally look down from the top of his castle, or a phrasal verb meaning he considered his subjects inferior. Okay, so the context is very important. Let's have a look at one more example. To turn. Okay, so let's add the preposition down. Now turn down has two phrasal verbs. Turn down means refused. I asked her out to dinner, but she turned me down. Okay, and turn down can also mean reduce the sound. The music is too loud. Can you turn it down? Now, there are thousands of phrasal verbs. That's the bad news. But the good news is they are just vocabulary. Every language has vocabulary. Your language has lots of vocabulary. And these are just words, albeit in 2 or 3 parts, but they are just words. And once you realize that, then it's a little less intimidating. So, the big question, how do we learn them? It's a good question, and different teachers will take different approaches. And at the end of the day, you have to decide what's best for you. So, one way of teaching them and learning them, of course, is to bundle all the phrasal verbs with the same preposition together. Okay, so and see how the preposition indicates a similar meaning. Okay, so let's look at some examples of that. So take the preposition up, okay? Up can have the meaning to move to a higher level, to increase, greater intensity. So for example, speak up. Speak up means speak more loudly, so to a greater intensity. Turn up can mean make it a greater intensity. Turn up the music. Go up. Okay, so prices went up this month. Here, up means increase. Okay, up can also mean finish completely. So for example, tidy up the room. Okay, so tidy to the end. Eat up your food. Okay, so that means eat it completely. Finish up. Okay, I have to finish up my work. Okay, so finish to the end. Okay, up can also mean destroy, break completely. Smash up means, yes, smash completely. He smashed up the room. He smashed everything. Break up. Our relationship has broken up. It's finished definitively. Blow up. My engine blew up. Okay, so completely destroyed. Okay, with other prepositions, on, off, down, in, you could also recognize similar patterns and the things that they have in common. And many teachers teach phrasal verbs in this way, and some really excellent teachers here on YouTube use this method to teach phrasal verbs, and you should definitely check out their videos. However, for me personally, I prefer a different approach. The problem I have with this grouping method is that there are too many exceptions, too many irregularities. I'll show you what I mean. So now I know that if I see a verb followed by up, it means add to intensity, completely, add to a higher level, increase. Okay, yeah, all right. But what about queue up? What does that mean, queue up? It's the same as to queue, isn't it? Okay, and same with wait up and wait. What does the up mean there? I'm not quite sure. Okay, wash up, all right? So you wash up the dishes, all right? Wash up completely, is that right? Yeah. So you can wash up your clothes, can't you? No, you can't. You wash your clothes, but you wash up the dishes. Why? I don't know. Okay, so talk and speak have similar meanings. So speak up means increase the volume. Okay, that's cool. That fits into the pattern. But what about talk up? Should have a similar meaning, shouldn't it? But it doesn't. Talk up means to speak about something in a favorable way. So, for example, the company's just launched a new product and they're trying to talk it up in the media. Okay. And what about look up? We look up in the word, look up a word in the dictionary. Why up? I don't know. The other thing about this method is it leads to some false assumptions. So, for example, plug in means insert an electrical device into an electricity supply. So logically, the opposite of in is out. So it should be plug out, right? I plugged out the computer. No. The opposite of plug in is to unplug. I unplugged my computer. You pick up the phone, right? You pick up. And the opposite should be, I don't know, pick down, shouldn't it? Well, no, it's hang up. You pick up and then you hang up. That's illogical. There might be a pattern to it, but I can't see it. It's so complicated that by the time and if you're reading an article, by the time you finish it, you're pulling out your hair, you've taken 8 paracetamols and you've still got a headache and you need some psychotherapy. Language is not a science. So the method I suggest is to learn phrasal verbs in a more natural, more organic way. You come across a phrasal verb in the process of your everyday life when you're listening to someone or reading or watching a TV show, whatever. Then make a note of it, write it down on a spreadsheet, or whatever suits you. Check the meaning in the dictionary. Write down the definition, and especially make a note if there is a non-phrasal verb equivalent, and this is often the case. So you write down the structure as well, okay? What type of phrasal verb is it? Is it a transitive phrasal verb? That's a verb that takes a direct object, such as make up, which means to invent or lie. He made up a story, okay? That's transitive. Is it an intransitive phrasal verb? One that is not followed by a noun. For example, grow up. Children grow up fast, okay? Is it a separable phrasal verb? These are phrasal verbs that can be separated so that you can put words between the verb and the preposition. For example, throw away, okay? I threw the rubbish away, or I threw away the rubbish. It's a separable phrasal verb. The non-phrasal verb equivalent, by the way, is dispose. I'm going to dispose of the rubbish. And then there are inseparable phrasal verbs. Look into, for example, means to investigate. I'll look into the problem, or I'll investigate the problem would be the non-phrasal verb equivalent. Next, write an example. Very important, write an example. If you saw the video of 101 phrasal verbs I had 101 examples. Next, again, very important, use the phrasal verb in conversation or in writing, okay? So you must use it. That helps you remember it. So now let's look at an example. Let's take sign up. So what's the definition? It means to put your name down for something, to join something, to register, okay? What type of phrasal verb is it? It's an intransitive phrasal verb, and it's inseparable. Let's have an example. I signed up for the newsletter, okay? Another example, cool off, to cool off, which means to cancel. It's a transitive phrasal verb and it's separable, okay? I called off the meeting, or I called the meeting off. Can you use cancel in these examples? Yes, you can. It has an equivalent. I cancelled the meeting, okay? So do the same for all the new phrasal verbs that you come across, okay? Come across, that's another phrasal verb. Build up your spreadsheet of phrasal verbs. Listen, I'm sorry if this is not like a magic solution you're hoping for that requires little or no work. No, this does require a lot of work and effort, but I never said it would be easy. But this is a very effective method, I promise you. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope I haven't put you off learning phrasal verbs. And as always, stay mellow. More English language videos coming soon.